Captain Alex Carter had always been a problem solver, a human engineer trained to handle any situation, no matter how extreme. His job was to ensure the safe running of the space station, conduct repairs, and oversee advanced engineering projects. Today, however, everything had gone wrong. No one had anticipated what would happen when the mission, a routine exploration of uncharted space, took a deadly turn. It all began like any other day. The deep space vessel Pioneer had been drifting through the silent expanse of the galaxy, its crew monitoring data from the alien station known only as X9. The station was of unknown origin, and it had been dormant for thousands of years. They had been sent to investigate. No one expected to find anything significant, but in the depths of the universe, even the most routine missions had a way of unraveling quickly. Alex was in the engineering bay when the alarms first went off. It was a low, ominous sound, something Alex had never heard before. He rushed to the cockpit, his mind racing. "What's happening?" he demanded as he hurried to the control panel. His co-pilot, Lieutenant Sarah Moore, looked up, her face pale. "Captain, we're being pulled in by something massive. I've never seen anything like it." Alex's heart raced as he glanced at the monitors. A massive gravitational field was pulling them toward a nearby planet-sized object, but it wasn't on any of their maps. It wasn't supposed to be there. "What is that?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling. "I don't know," Alex said, his mind racing. "Brace for impact." The ship lurched as it was pulled closer. Alex quickly activated the emergency shields, but it was too late. The ship was caught in the pull of the unknown object. Before Alex could issue another command, a bright flash engulfed the entire vessel. When Alex regained consciousness, he found himself lying on the cold metal floor of the Pioneer. The ship was dark, the emergency lights flickering weakly. He pushed himself up, his head throbbing from the sudden impact. His breathing was shallow as he tried to assess the situation. "Sarah," he called out hoarsely. There was no answer. He tried again, louder this time. "Sarah." Finally, he spotted her slumped over the control panel, unconscious but alive. He staggered to her side and checked her vitals. She was breathing, but weak. Her pulse was faint. He slapped her face gently. "Sarah, wake up." She stirred, groaning softly, and then her eyes fluttered open. "What happened?" she murmured, disoriented. "We crashed. We're stuck in the middle of nowhere," Alex said, trying to steady himself. His eyes scanned the control panel. Nothing seemed to be working. "We need to get out of here." But as Alex looked outside the ship's broken windows, he saw something that made his stomach drop. They weren't on a planet. They weren't even in space. Instead, they were trapped in the docking bay of a vast alien station. The colossal structure stretched far above them, its strange geometry unlike anything he'd ever seen. The walls were covered in strange symbols, pulsing with a faint blue light. The station itself seemed to be ancient, its once grand exterior now crumbling, but it still held the strange, mysterious aura of something powerful and alive. "We're on an alien station," Alex muttered, as the reality of their situation began to set in. "This is not good." He quickly checked the communication systems. Static. No signal. No way to contact Earth, or even the ship's headquarters. They were alone. Hours passed as Alex and Sarah struggled to assess their options. The ship's systems were offline, and the damage from the crash was extensive. Alex was able to get some emergency lights working, but the rest of the ship's technology was beyond repair, at least for now. They had no way of getting the ship back into space, no way to communicate with anyone. They were stranded. "I'm going to check the alien station," Alex told Sarah, who was still recovering. "We might be able to find something useful there. I'll stay here and keep trying to get the comms working," she said weakly, but there was no strength in her voice. Alex nodded. He didn't have the luxury of time. They needed help, and the alien station was their only hope. But what would they find there? He had no idea. He took a deep breath and began walking toward the massive doors of the station, his boots echoing in the eerie silence. The further he walked, the more surreal the place became. There was no sign of life, no movement, but everything seemed so alive. The station's strange, shifting architecture only added to the sense of unease that settled over him. As he ventured deeper into the heart of the station, Alex came across a series of glowing control panels. They looked ancient, covered in dust and grime, but they still hummed with power. It seemed that whatever alien race had built this place had been advanced, possibly far beyond anything humanity had ever achieved. He approached one of the panels cautiously. As his fingers brushed across the surface, the panel lit up, a strange blue light flowing through the circuits. Words appeared, but they were unreadable. Alien symbols, alien language. He had no way of knowing what they meant, but it was clear that the station was still active in some capacity. If he could figure out how to interface with it, maybe, just maybe, they could use it to their advantage. But then, an eerie sound filled the air, a hum, low and vibrating. It came from deep within the station, growing louder by the second. Alex froze, his heart pounding. Something was coming. He quickly ducked behind a nearby console, his breath shallow as he peered around it. Suddenly, the ground shook violently, sending a shower of dust from the ceiling. He stumbled back, heart racing. Then he saw them. Shadows moved through the hallways, figures, tall and dark, moving quickly. Their features were hidden by the shadows, but Alex could tell they were not human. They were something else, alien. His mind raced. Were these the ones who left them here? Had they come to finish the job? He knew one thing for sure. He needed to get back to the ship. Fast. He turned and bolted back down the hallway, but the alien figures were closing in. His pulse quickened as he reached the ship. He had to warn Sarah, but as he reached the docking bay, he realized something even worse. He was alone. Sarah was gone. He stumbled into the cockpit, his eyes scanning the empty room. Panic set in. "Sarah," he called out, his voice strained. There was no response. The station hummed with an eerie quietness. It was almost as if the alien station itself was alive, watching him, waiting for something. Alex's pulse pounded in his ears as he sprinted through the corridors, searching for any sign of Sarah, but she was nowhere to be found. Just as he turned a corner, he froze. The alien figures were in the hallway ahead, their glowing eyes locked onto him. There was no way out. They had him cornered. Alex's heart was racing, his thoughts scrambling. He had to survive. He couldn't die here. Not like this. He had to find a way to outsmart these beings, to turn the tables. He couldn't let the aliens win. Not after everything he had survived. In that moment of terror, a spark of hope ignited within him. He was a human engineer. He had faced impossible odds before. He would rebuild. He would survive. And most of all, he would make these aliens regret underestimating humanity. Captain Alex Carter sat slumped in the dimly lit cockpit of the Pioneer, his mind racing. The emergency lights flickered weakly overhead, casting eerie shadows against the cold, lifeless walls. The alien station, once a place of technological mystery, now seemed more like a tomb. There was no sign of Sarah, no sign of rescue. But Alex wasn't about to give up. Not now. Not ever. The hum of the alien station reverberated through the ship's hull. Alex's breath came in shallow bursts, a mix of fatigue and adrenaline, his hands gripping the edge of the console as he tried to think. He had to survive. He had to fix the ship. And if not the ship, at least find a way to send a distress signal. The odds were against him, but that didn't mean he was out of options. "Sarah," he whispered, his voice breaking. She had been his co-pilot, his partner, and now she was gone, vanished. The reality of it hit him harder than anything. But even in the darkest of moments, there was always a glimmer of hope. Alex was a resourceful engineer. If anyone could rebuild something out of nothing, It was him. He wiped the sweat from his forehead and stood up, his mind made up. He couldn't afford to sit around feeling sorry for himself. The alien station was vast, and somewhere within it, there had to be something useful. He couldn't let the alien forces win, not when there was still a chance, any chance, of escape. He had to find a way out. Alex didn't waste another second. He grabbed his emergency toolkit and headed toward the hatch, determined to explore the alien station and find something, anything, that could help him. As he stepped into the hallway, the low hum of the station filled the air, its cold, alien walls stretching endlessly in both directions. The sound of his footsteps echoed eerily. The last few hours had been nothing but chaos. The sudden crash, the alien figures, whatever they were, chasing him through the corridors. But in all that madness, Alex had seen something that sparked a faint glimmer of hope. The station wasn't just a desolate wreck. There was still power running through the walls. It wasn't much, but it was something. His fingers brushed over the nearest control panel. It buzzed to life with a faint, blue glow, and Alex's heart skipped a beat. The panel was ancient, covered in dust, but it was still active. Somehow, against all odds, the station's power systems had endured. He didn't hesitate. He began to examine the panel closely. There were no readable markings, no familiar symbols. But he had worked with alien technology before. His experiences had taught him to adapt. With careful precision, he pried open the panel and began to examine the wiring. Despite the station's age, it was still functional, and Alex could feel the faint hum of the power running through it. His fingers danced across the wires, testing each one, short-circuiting a few to see how the system responded. The air was thick with the smell of burning metal and ozone, but Alex didn't flinch. He had no time to waste. Minutes stretched into hours as he worked through the system, each moment feeling like a step closer to finding a way out. Slowly, he began to understand how the station's systems functioned, piecing together a plan. Suddenly, the panel emitted a soft beep, and a new screen flickered to life in front of him. A holographic display appeared, showing schematics of the alien station, an intricate network of power conduits, living quarters, and communication nodes. Alex's eyes scanned the map, and his heart raced. The station was huge, far bigger than he had first realized. It had a central core, a heart, that seemed to control everything. If he could access that core, he might be able to override the systems and get the station working at full capacity. That was his ticket out of here. But there was a catch. The map indicated that the core was deep within the station, located in the heart of what seemed to be the alien's control center. It was heavily guarded. The alien figures he had seen earlier were patrolling the area, but Alex had faced worse odds before. He wasn't about to back down now. He couldn't afford to. His mind raced as he thought through the logistics. He had to move quickly, before the aliens returned. Time was running out. They would surely come looking for him again, but what if there was a way to turn the tables? Alex decided to move forward with the plan. He would use the alien technology to his advantage. The more he worked with it, the more he understood how it functioned. The holographic display showed a series of interconnected nodes, which Alex realized could be rerouted to create a decoy. If he could use the station's own security systems against the aliens, he might be able to create a distraction long enough to access the core. He pulled out a small device from his toolkit, a data spike that could interface with the station's systems. He inserted it into the control panel, and within seconds, the holographic display transformed. A series of symbols and readouts filled the air, faster than Alex could comprehend. The station's mainframe was alive with data. Every circuit, every piece of alien technology seemed to respond to his touch. The room lit up with a soft blue glow as Alex worked, his focus unbreakable. He rerouted power, boosted the security systems, and set up a series of false readings. The aliens wouldn't know what hit them. If they came looking for him, they'd find nothing but confusion and chaos. "Come on," he muttered, urging the system to cooperate. Sweat dripped from his brow, but he didn't stop. He was so close. With a final keystroke, the security systems were reprogrammed. The alien figures, if they came, would be met with the full force of the station's defenses, just enough to give Alex the upper hand. Now, it was time to make his move. Alex stepped back from the control panel and took a deep breath. His mind was racing, but he felt a sense of purpose. He wasn't alone anymore. Not really. He had the station's technology on his side. He had a plan. He moved cautiously through the corridors, avoiding the alien figures as best as he could. He kept his movements slow and deliberate, listening intently for any signs of danger. The station seemed endless, and the aliens seemed to be everywhere. But Alex wasn't afraid anymore. The fear that had gripped him earlier had been replaced with something stronger, hope. And with that hope, he knew he could do this. As he approached the control center, the heart of the station, Alex felt his adrenaline surge. He had made it this far. He wasn't going to fail now. The door to the control center was massive, its surface covered in strange symbols that seemed to shift as he looked at them. He placed his hand on the door, and to his surprise, it slid open with ease. Inside, the room was enormous. Alien technology filled every inch of space, and at the center of the room was a massive core, glowing with an eerie blue light. This was it, the heart of the station, the power source, the key to everything. Alex approached the core carefully, his heart racing. He had come so far, and now he could almost taste victory. But before he could reach the core, a sudden sound filled the room. The alien figures had found him. But this time, Alex wasn't afraid. With a fierce determination, he activated the station's newly reprogrammed defense systems. A blinding light filled the room as energy blasts erupted from the walls. The alien figures recoiled, disoriented by the sudden onslaught. Alex didn't hesitate. He rushed to the core, his fingers flying over the controls as he began the process of restarting the station's power. The lights flickered, then stabilized. The core hummed to life. For the first time since the crash, Alex allowed himself a smile. It wasn't over yet, but this was the glimmer of hope he had been waiting for. He had done it. The station was alive again, and with it, his chance for survival. As he stood there, breathing heavily, Alex realized one thing. He wasn't alone anymore. The alien station, once abandoned and lifeless, was now his ally. With its technology at his disposal, he had the power to fight back, to survive. And this was only the beginning. Captain Alex Carter stood at the heart of the alien station, feeling the vibrations of power flowing through the walls around him. The station, once a decaying relic of an ancient civilization, now hummed with new life. It was alive again, but not the way it had been before. Under Alex's touch, the station had begun to transform. The glow from the power conduits illuminated the vast, empty hallways, casting long shadows that danced across the strange, alien architecture. The air was thick with the scent of ozone, the remnants of Alex's quick work to get the core back online. But this was just the beginning. He had taken the first step in his grand plan, but there was so much more to do. The aliens, the ones who had abandoned him here, were still lurking in the shadows. Alex knew they would return, and when they did, he had to be ready. But what gave him hope was the knowledge that the station was now a tool he could manipulate. Every wall, every system, every alien control panel was now something he could work with, and he was determined to use it to its full potential. It had all started with the core. The moment Alex had activated it, he felt a rush of energy pulse through the station's arteries. It was as if the station itself had been waiting for someone to breathe new life into it. But what Alex didn't expect was how quickly the alien technology responded to his human ingenuity. The once inert systems had come alive. And now, Alex saw potential everywhere. He had the power to change everything. The first order of business was to secure the station's infrastructure. It was still too fragile, too close to falling apart. The damage from the crash was extensive, and the station's systems were hardly stable. Alex knew he couldn't afford to rely on the fragile remnants of alien technology for much longer. He needed to make improvements. He headed toward the main repair bay, a place he had explored earlier but hadn't yet had the chance to fully inspect. The room was filled with scrap metal and broken machinery, remnants of what the alien race had used to maintain the station. Most of the equipment was too damaged to be of any use, but Alex saw something useful in the piles of debris, something he could work with. With his tools in hand, Alex set to work. He first scavenged the old machinery for parts, things that might still have a useful function. Some of the alien energy cells had shorted out, but with a few adjustments, they could be recharged. The metal plates could be repurposed for reinforcement. The control panels, though alien, could be repurposed with human technology. Hours turned into days as Alex worked tirelessly. He rewired circuits, fixed broken conduits, and pieced together systems that hadn't worked in years. Slowly, the station began to take shape. What had once been a massive, empty, and lifeless husk now had purpose. The energy flow was steady, the lights brighter, and the temperature regulation systems began to hum in perfect harmony. With the station's basic systems now functioning, Alex moved on to the next phase: defense. The alien figures had made it clear that they were no friends of humanity, and Alex knew they would return. He had seen their patterns, and he knew where they were most likely to come from. The station's security systems had been poorly designed, but Alex was confident that he could use them against the aliens. His plan was simple. He would modify the station's defenses and create a system so advanced that the aliens would never see it coming. He took apart the old security panels, studying the alien designs. The station's defense systems were powerful, but they lacked flexibility. The aliens had clearly relied on brute force to maintain control, but Alex's mind worked in a different way. He didn't need to match their strength, he just needed to outthink them. He reprogrammed the security network, enhancing its sensors and boosting its response time. He also designed a few surprises, traps that would activate if the aliens tried to breach the main corridors, advanced holographic decoys to confuse their senses, and most importantly, automated drones that could be deployed at a moment's notice. As the station's new systems came online, Alex began to feel a sense of pride. He had not only repaired the station, he had improved it. This was no longer just a way of surviving. This was a statement. Humanity's ingenuity, Alex's ingenuity, had turned the tables. He had gone from being abandoned on a dying station to having control over a technological marvel. The station was now a fortress, but there was still much to be done. Alex wasn't finished yet. As he walked through the freshly repaired corridors, he began to wonder how he could make this place even better. How could he turn it from a simple fortress into something that would not only ensure his survival, but also allow him to fight back against the aliens? He remembered the core, the glowing heart of the station. That was the key. If he could harness its full potential, he could turn the entire station into an unstoppable force. Alex spent the next several days focused on the core. Using everything he had learned from his time on the station, he began experimenting with its energy flow. He made adjustments, rerouted power, and integrated new systems into the core's power grid. He even found ways to link the station's various weapon systems to the core, amplifying their power beyond anything the station's creators had intended. He worked feverishly, refusing to rest until he was sure the station would be capable of withstanding anything the aliens could throw at it. As the final circuit was installed and the last energy capacitor was connected, Alex took a step back and surveyed his work. The station was no longer just a place of refuge. It was a weapon, a testament to human resilience and innovation. But Alex wasn't done. He knew that if the aliens ever returned, they would be more than just a threat. They would be a challenge. The real question was, could he defeat them? The moment of truth came sooner than expected. Alex had just finished the final stages of his improvements when he noticed the movement, a faint vibration in the walls. He had learned to read the station's pulse, and this was something new. Something big. The aliens were coming. Alex wasted no time. He quickly accessed the station's security system and activated his traps, deploying the automated drones and setting the holographic decoys in place. The aliens wouldn't know what hit them. As the alien figures approached, they began to notice the changes. Their scans were thrown off by the holographic images. Their sensors couldn't detect the drones until it was too late. The station's defensive systems fired to life, catching the aliens off guard and pushing them back. Alex watched from a safe distance as the aliens were forced into retreat, their every move countered by the technology Alex had turned into his own. But that wasn't the end of it. The aliens were persistent. They would return, stronger than before, and Alex had a new plan. The station wasn't just a tool for survival anymore. It was his weapon to fight back. In the days that followed, Alex continued to tweak and improve the systems he had created. He worked tirelessly, making the station more and more advanced. His knowledge of alien technology had become second nature to him, and the more he worked with it, the more powerful the station became. Each improvement made the station stronger, faster, and more capable of dealing with the threats that would surely come. But the most important thing Alex had learned through all of this was not just about the technology or the station. It was about himself. He had gone from being a stranded engineer with nothing to his name to the commander of a technological marvel. And in the face of the most terrifying odds, he had turned his desperate situation into a triumph of human ingenuity. The station was no longer just a symbol of survival. It was a beacon of humanity's strength, and Alex was its creator. Captain Alex Carter stood in the control room of the alien station, his eyes scanning the massive holographic map that stretched across the center of the room. The station, once a crumbling relic, now gleamed with the soft, steady hum of life. The power systems were stable. The defense mechanisms were fully operational. And the station, more powerful than it had ever been, was ready. But even with all the changes he had made, every system, every upgrade, Alex couldn't shake the feeling of impending danger. He knew that the aliens would come. They had already returned once, and it had only been a matter of time before they tried again. But this time, Alex was ready. As he stood in front of the control panel, he reflected on everything that had led him to this point. The crash, the alien station, the struggle to survive, the endless hours spent rebuilding the station, turning it from a dying husk into a thriving technological marvel. He had done what seemed impossible. But now, the true test awaited. The aliens were out there somewhere, and he wasn't going to let them destroy everything he had worked for. It had been 3 days since Alex had repelled the first wave of aliens. They had come in full force, but his new defenses had been more than enough to push them back. The automated drones, the traps, the holographic decoys, all had worked flawlessly. The aliens, confused and disoriented by the station's sudden transformation, had been forced to retreat. But Alex knew that the aliens were smart. They weren't going to give up that easily. They would regroup, adapt, and come back with a vengeance. This time, it wouldn't be just a skirmish. It would be a fight to the death. Alex knew that his biggest advantage was his understanding of the station. While the aliens had the numbers and the technology, he had the knowledge. He knew every inch of the station now, from the power conduits to the hidden chambers in the depths of the station. And he had designed the perfect trap. The station's core was the key. It was the heart of everything, the source of all power. If Alex could control the core completely, he could override the station's systems and make them work in his favor. He could turn the tide of the battle, using the station's own weapons against the aliens. But first, he needed to make sure the aliens didn't get there first. The station's main corridor was dark, the low hum of machinery filling the silence. Alex moved swiftly, his footsteps echoing off the metallic floors. His eyes were sharp, constantly scanning for any signs of danger. The station had become a maze of shifting corridors, with secret pathways and hidden rooms that only Alex knew about. The holographic decoys and automated drones were ready to deploy at a moment's notice, but Alex wasn't relying on them alone. This was going to be a direct confrontation. He arrived at the central junction, a massive cavernous chamber that overlooked the station's power core. The room was empty for now, but Alex knew that wouldn't last. The aliens would come soon, and when they did, they would be coming for the core. He activated a series of holographic barriers, cloaking the area and concealing the core from view. It was a simple tactic, but it would buy him precious time. He had one shot at this, and he wasn't going to waste it. Alex took a deep breath. It was time. The first signs of the alien presence came as a faint vibration in the walls. Alex's pulse quickened. They were here. The aliens had arrived. He could feel their presence, like a shadow moving through the station. He quickly accessed the station's security system and deployed the drones, watching them dart through the corridors with precise efficiency. The automated defense systems were ready, waiting for his command. Through the station's sensors, Alex tracked their movements. The aliens were getting closer. He could see them now, their dark forms moving through the corridors, heading straight for the core. Alex gritted his teeth. They weren't going to get it. Not this time. He activated the station's weapon systems. The massive energy cannons embedded in the walls hummed to life, charging with deadly energy. Alex took a deep breath and issued the command. Fire. The energy blasts erupted from the walls, striking the alien figures as they rounded the corner. They recoiled, disoriented by the sudden onslaught. The holographic decoys flickered and shifted, drawing their attention away from the true target. Alex didn't hesitate. He had anticipated this. As the aliens attempted to regroup, he activated another set of traps. Mechanical arms that shot out from hidden alcoves, grabbing the aliens and pinning them to the walls. The drones swooped in, firing their pulse weapons and creating a wall of fire that the aliens could not penetrate. For a moment, it seemed like victory was within reach. The aliens were overwhelmed, disoriented, and struggling to regain their footing. But Alex knew this wasn't over. This was just the beginning of the final confrontation. Suddenly, the station shook. A violent tremor rattled the walls, and the lights flickered. Alex's heart skipped a beat. This was it. The aliens were unleashing their full force. The station's automated defenses blared an alarm as more aliens flooded into the corridors. They were no longer just soldiers. They were leaders, generals, and warriors. Alex knew that they had come prepared. They were ready for a fight. And this time, they wouldn't be so easily defeated. But Alex wasn't about to give up. He had built the station to withstand attacks like this. Every weapon, every system, every defense had been designed with one purpose in mind: to protect the core. Alex quickly initiated the final phase of his plan. He overloaded the core, releasing a surge of energy that coursed through the station's power grid. The walls shuddered as the station's power intensified, and the lights grew brighter. The aliens had no idea what was coming. As the energy surge reached its peak, the walls began to crack, and the core erupted in a massive explosion of light. The entire station was bathed in a brilliant glow, and Alex could feel the heat of the blast as it washed over him. But he wasn't afraid. This was the moment he had been waiting for. He had built this. He had transformed the station into a weapon. And now, it was time to unleash its full potential. The energy blast shot out from the core, engulfing the alien figures in its path. The aliens screamed in terror as the energy overwhelmed them, their bodies disintegrating in the inferno of power. Alex watched, his heart racing, as the last of the alien forces were wiped out. The station was quiet once again. The hum of power faded, and the walls returned to their eerie silence. But this time, it was different. The station was no longer a broken husk of alien technology. It was a triumph of human ingenuity. Alex had done it. He had rebuilt the station. He had fought back against the aliens and won. As the dust settled, Alex stood alone in the control room, staring out at the wreckage of the alien forces. His breath was heavy, his body exhausted from the battle, but there was a sense of victory that filled him with pride. He had faced impossible odds. He had rebuilt an alien station, turned it into a weapon, and used it to defeat the aliens. He was no longer just a stranded engineer. He was a survivor. He was a hero. The station was his, and humanity's. But even in the silence, Alex knew that the war was far from over. The aliens might be defeated for now, but there were always more waiting in the shadows. But Alex was ready.